from Volcano here on the Big Island, and just wanted to give you guys some updates on what's going on here on the Big Island as well as what's happening on Maui. I'm here at the community center, so it might be a little loud, but I'll just do my best. I think connectivity here is a little better. So first of all, I just wanted to start with ways that you can help out, right? KPOA, I've said it many of times, if you want to hear the music, what's going on Maui, it's a great way to get engaged with the community and hear what's going on. The Luna Strong Athlete Fund, MIL sports are going on right now. So it's a great way to show support for those athletes and coaches and how important it is that athletics is in their life during this like tragic time. And then, right, I have a Instagram Venmo account that shares many of the people who've been affected and ways in which you can reach out to them directly. So check that out. And finally, on some of the daily updates or things that I'm keeping track of is the Hawaii daily tourism numbers. Little bit of uptick, but now we see it coming down to almost 2,000. So it's a slow part of this season for Hawaii and Maui, but really not a good situation for the money coming into that island. And for some of you who have been watching my station, thank you for all the new subscribers and everybody who's helped out with some of the donations that we've been doing. Here on the Big Island, we've been having our own action. We've had the Kilauea is currently erupting, and it's one of the most active volcanic spots in the world, and it is always a show. Yes, I'll get into some of those things in a bit. Yeah, I'm glad to see that she's there. I've been watching her there. So, but first of all, here on the Big Island, right, Kilauea is erupting. So if anybody wants to see what that looks like, the USGS has a great live stream that is in the link below. And that is a great way to see what's going on at the caldera. It's live all the time, even when there's no eruption. So check that out. Also, I have a link to a, what is this? This is a National Geographic. It's a 1-hour YouTube about Volcano National Park, about the plants, the animals, about the lava, everything around it. So if you want to see that, check out that video. I was getting emotional just watching it. You know, we've been here on the Big Island now for 3 years. I have strong ties here. My dad was stationed here at KMC. But beautiful place if you want to see what this part of the island looks like, where jungle meets an active volcano site. So, and then along those lines too, I've done lots of videos of what it looks like here. I have a link to running the Nāpau trail, and great. But that's a little bit of how I've explored this area that's lava and rainforest. So, right, some of the news about Maui. Cristina, my girlfriend, is currently in Kula, and she's talking to some friends and my family and getting a feeling of what's going on there in Kula. I've been keeping in touch with my parents daily, so we've been talking about all the things we talk about in this stream, you know, politics, the sad stories, the good stories, and how we can be positive moving forward. So make sure you check out her channel. She'll be coming out with more and more content. And then let's see, right, Starkey Farmstead. She's made it all the way to Maui. She has a lot of questions, and she's asking people on the ground these questions. And I have a link to her latest video, which is a nice insight into, you know, a feeling of what some of the locals are going through, and some of those big questions like, where are the children? Where are these other people who need to be accountable? What was it like getting out of Lahaina? So make sure, she's coming out with a lot of content right now. Starkey Farmstead. So I have one of her videos, but there's a lot of stuff that she's sharing being on the island, just showing that there's a lot of concerned people right now from all over the world about the lack of information and exactly what's going on there. So, and then I do have an article there. Hello. It's going well. We have an eruption going on right now. Beautiful day here in Volcano. I've been trying to make as much time as possible to go see the eruption. It's quite a sight. Everybody is coming to this side of the island, and you know, the press, the media it is an amazing eruption, and really we don't really know when it always happens. It just there's some warning signs, some earthquakes, and then boom, we get an eruption. Doing well. I'm out here by myself right now. Christina's on Maui. I'm just hanging out with my cat, but doing well. So back to some of those Maui stories. I have an article here, and it's specifically about how the fires impacted the Filipino community and how big the Filipino community was in Lahaina. So great article, talks about some people affected in the hotel industry, gives a good perspective of how specifically this group of immigrant people from the Portuguese side, right, immigrants from all over the islands came to help during the plantations. And the Filipino community is one of the larger ones, and they're a large portion of the people who've been living in Lahaina who generational wealth from some of their ancestors who worked in plantations, much like mine. So, and then, right, Blossom Inner Wellness. She's here on the Big Island, and she's been doing a great job of sharing some information of how we as individuals can file claims or ethical claims against certain individuals. So I have a link to one of her videos that I really enjoyed, and there's also a link to Stand Together Hawaii, where she has the forms that you can fill out. You don't need to be a citizen or a resident of Hawaii, but to form an ethical complaint against Josh Green, the mayor. But she has all that information for us and has provided some framework of how we could individually address some of these concerns. So I really recommend you check out that story from Blossom Inner Wellness. I've actually already filed a claim against Green, and Senator Josh Green. I use GPT to help me write out some of those things, but it's it's one way to hold these people accountable. Chief of police, mayors, governors, they've had to step down over some of these issues in the past. So it's not impossible to think that with enough people out there, we could actually really do something. Yes, greater. Is it Bilby? Yeah, I did see that video as well. So confirming a lot of the stories that we have heard and concerns that we've heard. Yeah, Dave Hawkins. But let's see a few other things, and I'll take some questions. But right, I also have an article down there about Lahaina Luna resuming practice, traveling an hour every day, and it's great that there's some level of normalcy to some of these students. I think there's a quote there: "We're playing for them all, the people of Lahaina." So once again, we see sports rising to the top as a way in which, process of this healing can begin. And right along some of those forms I was talking about. No, I didn't hear that. But right, I have a lawsuit there about the article about the lawsuit, the woman who lost her life. We talked about that before. I also have a link to the Hawaii Constitution. If anybody wants to look at that and look at the wording, the oath that many of these officers have to take. And a really interesting one, I spent a little time at law school at Temple, and I've always been fascinated and interested with legal, criminal, that whole realm of things that I'm interested in. But Detective Williams is a channel there, and in Detective Williams, he has a story about when corrupt cops realize they're done for. And this video, these two officers basically harassed and, but didn't even understand the Fourth Amendment when it came to what they were doing to this individual. And the case is still pending, but it is very fascinating to see that some of the people who were making arrests are not even aware of basic rights that people have. So, and understanding the power that we have in making these complaints clear about these officials. Yeah, I'm not sure if commissioner's the right name. You're correct on that. But it's interesting because there are means to push back, and people do have a voice. And sometimes when they do have a voice, it does result in major consequences of people having to leave their, chief of police having to leave. But and then one other video I have there for anyone who's interested is it's off subject here, but I think it has a lot to do with trust, government, and accountability. And it's UFO whistleblower David Grush Tells Me Everything, Jesse Michaels. This is like an hour and 40-minute going into some of the mysteries that our government has been holding back from us in terms of transparency and information. So, but those are some of the major updates I have happening here on the Big Island on Maui. I have been talking to my parents daily, and their biggest frustration, I think, is with information about things like water, about air quality. But they're in good spirits. They're trying to move forward with all of this, as well as trying to deal and confront with some of the concerns. Josh Green is becoming a major concern, I think, for a lot of people. And right, if anybody watched the Tulsi and BJ Penn with Joe Rogan, I'm not sure what people think about them. However, they did bring up some very good points in governance here, and actually what control or rights does the governor have, and it seems like he's clearly stepping over some of them. So yeah, isn't that the truth? We're all in this together. The unity that I think we have to have in keeping the conversation going, as well as remembering that these people who are affected by this, these are just the working class people. Maybe not all of them, but this is just a selection of Hawaii, of sweet people and memories that are just gone now. So it's still something I have trouble dealing with every day. Like, I haven't actually gone to Lahaina. I've just seen the devastation in Kula, and I think it's also important to remember, like, the Olinda fire they're still taking out hotspots in the Olinda fire. So it's over a month, and there's fires that still are not out on Maui, and it's still an extremely dry condition. And it's really difficult to see the path forward, other than being hopeful. Yeah, I keep on finding things that I think are interesting, and I keep on following this story. Good evening. And I feel that it's at least some of my role to help just make sure that some of these stories can be shared with other people. So it's something that's really important to me. I've sort of stopped a lot of other projects or things that I've had going, and just been focusing on this subject for since the day it happened, and really trying to be there, especially for my family and the community in my neighborhood first. But it's been a whirlwind, I think, for everyone who's been paying attention to it. Yeah, that's a good point. My dad worked as a pastry chef in Hawaii, in Maui. He's retired now, but he worked at the Maui Prince, where they actually had a desalinization plant. And while I think it is very expensive, it is amazing that more money hasn't been put into that. The electrical, the wires, all the wires above ground, that's an issue that people have brought up for many years too. And if you've seen any of the lawsuits, Bishop Estates is being named as one of the defendants in these lawsuits. And if you're not aware of who Bishop Estate is, I believe they own over 300,000 acres here in Hawaii. they have Kamehameha schools. They manage a huge amount of property. They're extremely wealthy, but they're also now a defendant in wrongful death, considering they weren't maintaining some of the property around Lahaina. Yeah, people have to unite more than ever. I think a big awakening here in Hawaii is, I'm a political science major, but we've had, it's been blue here that as long as I can remember, we've had a few Republicans, but people I think believed that it was because it was a blue state, therefore it's more towards the people, but we see the interest of business, tourism, as much as anywhere else, if not even more here, because there's so much money coming in, The money comes in, but it's not always allocated to the people who need it. Living on Maui my whole life, it's amazing that, they build an electric trolley system for a $300 million update to the airport, yet the track is still not in good shape and there's potholes in many roads, so. The previous governor, what happened to him? Ige, I don't know if many governors made it out of the pandemic, but Ige, he was Democrat, but he had as many proclamations and really didn't do much for government transparency. And if you don't know, Josh Green was his lieutenant governor, and when things first started happening, there was a fallout between them, and it wasn't clear the two were going to work together. How Josh Green made it as governor post the management of COVID baffled me, but there's a lot of support in different unions, Democratic unions for him. So, but I wasn't a big fan of Ige. I don't think many people were, and I'm not sure how many governors did an excellent job of managing that disaster. So here we are with Green and their management of this disaster. Of all the things that really concern me is that how these people almost did nothing when there was chaos, and the fact that people died because of these public servants were caught off guard is just, to me, it's about as terrifying as some of these other theories that we have of why this happened, land grabs, but the fact that they could have been just incompetent in dealing with the emergency is pretty terrifying to me as a possibility of what we're seeing unfold, Worst to worst, wrongful death is still a murder, for sure, the accountability is a huge issue, I don't know how to get these people out of office, but I don't know how you can have tourism until you have trust that the places and the safety systems in place are good for not just the people of Hawaii, but the people that come in and want to help support the people of Maui. So Maui's in a big bind, That's why in part Christy and I moved out here to the Big Island, where we live a simple life, without much, but thank you, yeah, I guess part of what I'm trying to do even with this is kind of a mindful meditation or a practice in just talking openly and freely, on a live stream for my mental health, and as well as maybe encouraging others that there's a space for them as well to tell their story and to not be intimidated by your voice or anything else. So yeah, Pelletier, if you saw in Cristina, she has a short about him slipping on scrubbing. What did he say? He said he has an oath to the Nevada, he had a toxic environment before this happened, and it's awful to think that toxic environment probably didn't help when the emergency really happened. There might have been it seemed like a complete breakdown in communication in the command center and the mayor and him, and it's like, he came in from Vegas they paid him extra. You know, there's these issues that once again I have to say, you know, the fact that he's in charge of I don't know the word. He has two roles right now, and that's like against, I think it's, you're not supposed to have two roles as chief of police, yet he has. So the police commission knows before this that the worker morale was very low, yet you know, very hated in Vegas. You know, our last chief of police, he was caught in a hit and run after going to a restaurant, and it was all on camera, and he hit a vehicle. So that was just, you know, nothing like what we're seeing now, but it's just another level of these public servants, you know, not following any orders. So smart agenda by 2040. Yeah, I don't know if it's a smart agenda. I mean, I don't know what agenda it is, but it is. It sure is globalization and, you know, corporate entities pushing forward as we the middle class just sort of disappears. You know. Yeah, that is true. You know, mistrust is a big issue. So I agree with that. You know. I think the lack of trust in government has been growing for years. I haven't been a big fan of too many individuals, you know. I always like what George Carlin said, which is, you know, this kind of like front row for the circus, but that really doesn't help when we're dealing with incompetent natural disasters, and, you know, and still this goes on, you know. What I don't understand about all this is how, you know, where the constitutional rights or the Hawaii constitutional rights on property, the blackout of the media in that area is, you know, I don't, it doesn't make any sense, you know. It's these, much like I've said before, Animal Farm, you know, it's like we have all these rights, but there's like a little side note on the bottom of them. It's like, oh, well, in the case of when you have to go through TSA at the airport, or in the case of an emergency proclamation that isn't even clear, then you kind of lose those rights. And I didn't know. I mean, I wasn't educated in school that those rights were like so fungible. So yeah, Green, you know, I'm hoping that he could be pushed out of there through other means, you know, because if we have to wait for the next election for some of these people, it's not going to be. That you said that Tulsi spoke about that on Joe Rogan's show. Yeah, you know, I haven't seen the whole show. I saw clips from it, but BJ Penn, who, right, he's a UFC MMA fighter from Hilo, not too far from where I live, ran for governor under Republican, and he's voiced his concerns at meetings. And Tulsi was a Democrat who moved to, is she an independent now? I'm not sure, but kind of, she has, I think, a lofty political goals that she's been moving towards. But check it out. You know, I don't have the link to that. I also, you know, some of you guys have been asking me about, you know, my artwork, and I do have a link. I think I've put in the top to my some of my artwork that I've done. You know, for some of you who are just joining, you know, I'm an artist, a coach. I'm working on writing 2 books, and born and raised in Maui. I tried to pursue a career as a professional runner. I was a runner in high school, ran in college, continued running after college, and specialized in the marathon. And aloha, Ronnie. And, you know, I followed my passion. I ran a number of marathons. I missed making the Olympic trials in the marathon, but I got some great insight along the way. And, you know, people keep saying, yes, please, that about this, people from, I've heard on the radio on KPOA, you know, this is not a race, this is a marathon. And, you know, the marathon, it's like great little sandbox for life, in terms of you can, you know, you're gonna have to, it's very humbling, and you're gonna have to confront some of those negative thoughts in your mind that are gonna come up as it's difficult and it hurts. You know, yet you don't, like, people don't just die running a marathon. It's like you can go as far as you can, and then, you know, but I've passed out in marathons, and I've had those voices where it's like, you know, give up, go fall in the bushes, your hamstring hurts, this hurts too much, you know, don't go forward. And, you know, every time I finish one, I've learned so much more about myself, respect for the event, but, you know, that very simple act of just not giving up, you know, and not giving up and not feeding into those negative thoughts that are there all the time. You know, you kind of get to choose yourself what perception of reality you want. As a coach working with youth, yeah, I've been barefoot for quite a while too. So when I was coaching, especially the younger ones, but anyone, working with how they used language was always number one. And getting the young ones to, you know, not say I can't was always like, if I could get them to understand the value of saying I can, or I can't, or you can try, or don't give up. You know, I think for the many kids I worked with, and adults, that positivity, you know, it's not gonna get you to win the race, but it's gonna get you to have your best race. It's gonna get you out of those dark moments where you do want to give up. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you know, something I'd like to say about, in terms of looking into the resilience and the strength of the people of Hawaii, Maui, and Lahaina. There has been political activists in Hawaii from day one, and many of them are very informed, very educated, understand oral history. There is great strength here in the wisdom, and also understanding legal aspects. Here on the Big Island, there's been a big, long, drawn-out battle over Mauna Kea as a area of very significant cultural significance, yet also as a scientific area where they were planning on building the largest or one of the largest telescopes. But people have been taking a stand for that. People have been taking a stand. If you listen to the music of Hawaii for, you know, for as long as all of this has been going on, whatever we're talking about, whether it's land rights and big interest pushing out the working class, but there's a lot of people, I think, that are standing strong and well rooted in the community. Yeah, and I think a role that maybe some of us can play, especially those that are not from Lahaina or there, is to learn about the rich history of these islands, Lahaina. You know, look deep into the history. Learn not just about the whaling industry or the plantation industry, but the Hawaiian kingdom and how rich the stories are of Lahaina, you know, before European contact. You know, Hawaii is a fascinating place with a rich, diverse history, you know, that I'm constantly made aware of new things that I had no idea of on Maui, you know, whether it's where areas of immigrants lived, whether it's, you know, graveyards, whether, you know, the islands are covered with this history of development that has been changing over the years, from sugar industry to now tourism. You know, many people are not sure if they're aware, you know, Waikiki was a lowland area that they filled in. So, you know, Waikiki is kind of like a fake area. It was a wetland, you know, and there are some great images what it looked like before the 20s. Yeah, the Venice of the Pacific, Elza. Yeah, it was a lush place with kalo and what breadfruit ulu trees, and you know, it's always beautiful to imagine yourself in these times not that far away, and what the islands may have looked like, felt like. Yeah, but you know, the love for Maui, or Maui no Ko'oi, Maui's number one. Um, you know, and the spirit of aloha, I think, has been strengthened through this. Um, and Pearl Harbor, good old Pearl Harbor.
Wanna come join love? No.
But I'm glad I have this here, though. You know, I wish I could go through all the comments that I've had recently. I know I've tried to go through a few in the morning, but I'm glad people are having a space to have a dialogue about this and share some of their thoughts, or their concerns, or their love for Maui, or you know, whether they should go to Maui or not. You know, I wish I had answers for everything, but I don't. But I do know that the people there are hearing our prayers and thoughts, and you know, and that the help for them just, you know, needs to continue, you know, and I guess we have that role not to give up on them either, as when do you I'm sorry, I didn't get that question there. If you could ask that one more time, I might be able to get to that. But I'm here in the volcano, you know, on the other island. What is it? Born and raised in Maui, left in 2010. Yeah, boy, isn't it hard to leave Maui? It's always the sweetest thing going back, you know. When I come back from college, man, there was nothing like getting on the plane with everybody, realizing that you're going back home to Maui, you know, in the winters. And I'd get closer, as I'd get to like different points, like Salt Lake City, see friends with ukuleles and aloha shirts, and you know, the mood as you get closer and closer to Maui is just like, you know, it's always so sad to leave. I'm so happy to go back, you know. Yeah, you know, I miss Maui, and it's amazing how much Maui is changing, you know. I really miss, like, I spent a lot of time in the backcountry, you know, in Halakala, in Kaupo, and I love spending time in Hana, but, you know, I ran all over that island, I biked all over that island, surfed, paddled, you know, just, you know, I just loved exploring it. Eve, yeah, I'm doing fine. Christina's on Maui. She's there in Kula with my parents. They're gonna go have some great Mexican food today with some of her friends. Island hopping by plane. Yeah, unfortunately, it costs quite a bit sometimes. It can cost up to $100, but it looks like the kids are going to be taking over the playground, so I might be cutting this stream a little short so they can have their fun, but I'll keep it going for a while. And if anybody has any other questions or, you know, comments, or, you know, I have a whole bunch of links in the description below. I have some links to some videos about the current eruption that is happening. Yeah, I love to Kula. You know, Kula is often, you know, almost 20 homes were destroyed there. So much is focused on Lahaina. No loss of life there, but still a lot of displaced people, still no safe drinking water. You know, businesses are closed in Kula, so the economic impact of the fires is still far-reaching. The ley lines through Maui, no, not really, you know. I seem familiar to you, maybe. Are your parents and friends involved in discussion of rebuilding Lahaina? My parents, no, not so much. Their focus is in Kula and actually helping some two families that are displaced, and they've been doing quite a bit to just take care of everyone. You know, they're obviously watching what's going there, but the island, when the things first happened, there was just complete chaos on the island. So, you know, they had to escape from their house in Kula. There was the houses below them and above them that burnt. Damage did happen to the roof. They're getting the roof replaced. So, oh, I know there's so much, you know, loss of life, loss of, you know, historical buildings, you know, just pretty much wiped off the map, you know. And it's like, I'm an artist. All these artists lost everything, you know, and it's like, it's nothing but our memories, right? That's about all we have. You know, I had to go look back at some of the videos and photos I had of Lahaina, and I'm eager to go back to my parents to see what treasures we have in my parents' photo albums, as we spent a lot of time. My dad lived out my dad worked in Kapalua, so. You know, I heard that warning signs. I heard something about that, Green's wife and Oprah, and, you know, I don't know. It's a small island, you know, and the money, the corruption there is, you know, there's big money there, right? A whole handful of billionaires there, right? Let alone Zuckerberg on Kauai. So, you know, that money goes into politics, and it, you know, unfortunately, some of these politicians. I know there was a guy, who was he on, for East Maui. It was a 10,000 bribe in Vegas or something for septic systems. I mean, it didn't even take much to bribe him, and you know, then the feds got involved, and you know, his career was over. So, yeah, you know, I don't really know too much. I have to look more into that connection between, I think, Green's wife and Oprah. I've heard about it from a few people, and but I hadn't found the direct ties. So, right, and for some of you guys just joining right now, right, I have some links below that you do not need to be from Hawaii to file complaints against Josh Green for, you know, there's a link to, let's see, Blossom Inner Wellness and standtogetherhawaii.com. She has links to different forms that if you know someone in Maui or you think you want to claim a form, she has links to forms for that I have already filled out, one for Josh Green, and I'm working on the other ones. You can get them notarized if you want at your bank. You can send them in. You can. She also expresses what concerns we're dealing with, and you know, I'd check it out because I think we need a lot of people to voice their concerns. If we don't voice our concerns, then we just sit back and complain and don't. You know, to go a little off subject, I got to go to Kenya for a month, and when I went to Kenya, I went to some of the churches there. That's what nobody runs on Sunday. Everybody just goes to church. And one of the sermons that I listened to was about declaration and how, you know, it's not enough for you just to think something. You kind of have to make it public. And when you declare something, it's like you're letting other people know this is how you feel. It keeps you accountable too once you declare something. So sort of writing these claims for me, or actually looking into these ways to voice yourself, is a way to declare, hey, you know, the committee that looks over ethics, I think there's some major issues going on here with what's happening. And you know, if it ends there, it ends there, but at least I feel like I've declared something through the right pathway, so that at least it's on record. And you know, maybe that will come back to haunt them, you know, I don't know. But you know, I've been using ChatGPT since it came out, and I've been experimenting with it in many ways. And one of the things I did when I first got GPT is I had it write a letter to my parents from Santa for Christmas. But the other thing is I did it to see how effective it was. I wrote letters to different people, politicians, people that I looked up to. And I wrote a letter about the UAP issue to Biden. I wrote a letter to former President George Bush, Schatz. And you know what? I got letters back. I'll have to show you the form letter I have for President Biden and George Bush. I'm gonna try to get Obama. I'm gonna Trump. I don't really care. Like, to me, it's like a practice in communication, and also it's also a test to see who does respond to these letters if you are concerned. So yeah, she is amazing. I think she did an excellent job. I can't believe she's not actually bigger on YouTube, because I think some of her last few videos, she really spelled it out well about how she had that guy, I forget his name, who had done some challenges, who had gotten, he had some legal fights and actually won them. But I think her content has been great, and I think it's really positive that in the YouTube world, we can sort of share and collaborate these things. AI responds, yeah. It's a crazy world we live in with all these things. Another YouTuber is Heather M. Peggy Hall. Yeah, I'll look into that. Pretty much every morning I try to look into new content. Yeah. When the fire first happened, I would get up in the morning and just look for any content that came out in the last hour, the last day, just, whoever's story it was, I wanted information, and it was nice that at least in some ways YouTube could provide the information that I think we were lacking from media or, other investigative journalism. Yeah, that's so true, Jay. They're not very good at their public relations, clearly, and in managing disasters, which, are they hiding something? I don't know. It's like, are they just really bad at communicating? They're not really showing much leadership, for sure. Yeah, I hear you there, rather. Yeah, we have to be concerned, I think, with all these things, but the fact that we're all paying attention, is that enough? I don't know. The billions on the island, what are they doing? You can't blame anybody for moving to Maui, despite their economic status. A side story, Christina and I worked for some very wealthy, I don't know if they were billionaires, but they worth hundreds of millions, and they were some of the nicest people I had worked for. So, we can't put everybody in the same basket. However, there are a group of these super elite wealthies who really don't have much sensitivity to the islands or the places they live. They give a lot of money and donate, and then they try to buy up as much property. I'm familiar with where Oprah lives, and I've been around Maui long enough to see how she's slowly gobbled up land in the upcountry area. She tried to buy this every lot, and I have one friend, I don't think they sold out to Oprah. They actually said no to her. They have a house above Oprah, and it's like, one way to suck it to these billionaires is they say, nope, you can't buy me out. And they have their parents bought a house in the 70s above where Oprah lives, before Oprah lived there. It's like, their thing was, so you give us all this money, like, where are we gonna go? Like, we're happy where we are. Why would we want to sell this beautiful spot? Yeah, Oprah does have a private road. If you ever fly into Maui, you look above Wailea. I actually was a land surveyor for a while for Alexander and Baldwin in Maui as a temp worker, and I did work on helping survey Oprah's road. and it is so ridiculous. It is a paved 2-lane road that's like, I think 10 miles or something. That's just for her, and it's not even on her land. She has access to an easement on the ranch, but it's a clear sign when you fly in. You're like, well, whose road is that? And you're like, oh, that's just Oprah's. And it's like, I always joked, like, why didn't she just build like a helicopter pad, you know? Like, it's completely frivolous and senseless, you know. Her trainer has a giant estate there, you know, she has a farm. I've never seen her, you know, but living in Maui, it's like, I'd often go snorkeling, or I'd go boogie board where Jeff Bezos ended up buying his land. Interesting, Paul. Yeah, it does seem like we're in those sort of times. You know, when I was in Maui, I was talking to some people who were Jehovah's Witnesses, and whew, you know, their spirits were high, but you could tell that they were down about reality for sure. Yeah, I've actually been on that road, Oprah's road. It's silly. It's silly. Yeah, you know, I think, you know, I'll try to talk a little louder if that helps. But you know, Oprah is I think a genius in her marketing. You know, she's a marketing guru. That doesn't necessarily make her like a compassionate person. It just makes her really good at having her face everywhere and making business deals. You know. Yeah, success has nothing to do with the wildfire. I think the tension is the have and have-nots, and how there's so many people in Maui who work multiple jobs, and it just doesn't meet up to the cost of living there, which, you know, we're seeing it happen in Exodus, you know. No, that's interesting. Aloha. Yeah, you know, Josh Green is putting this, you know, no land sales, but if you're down and out and you need to make some money, and even if you're going to take it at a loss, but you can't build on your property for 3 years, you know, what are you going to do with land if you can't do anything with it and you can't sell it? You know, I don't know what Josh Green's, you know, thinking is, so. Yeah, a little bit of a bummer. But you know what? It's always better to see the world for at least what it is than to, you know, put your head in the ground. And where does Oprah live? She lives in upcountry Kula. She lives by Keokea, which she lives on this road that's really, it's pasture land, just rolling pasture land, in between Keokea and Tedeschi. It's directly above like Kihei, and the sunsets there are gorgeous. You know, I have many friends who have lived in that area, by that area. I know, it's so sad because so many people barely making it here. So if you were barely making it and you lost everything, whew, geez, you know. But right, Christy and I moved out here because we couldn't afford anything in Maui. You know, we didn't make enough money. It's close. Yeah, it's tragic. You know, to think that Maui, Lahaina, is now in the news for what it is, you know, it's so sad. Yeah, multi-generations living on, yeah, that's the case in many places in Hawaii. You know, usually you have 3 generations at least living in the same home. You know, either build an ohana or, you know, the sense of family, because, you know, to have just to rent your own place, let alone food in Hawaii. You know, if you're not growing your own food, or, you know, even the local markets. But last I checked, eggs were $12.99. milk was about $9 a gallon. So, just to feed your family is a huge cost. Yeah, Oprah is, yeah, she has property there in Ohana too. One of the most prized places I think of the islands or Hawaii is Hana. Little slice of heaven there. So, RP Pine saying kiss of death. Yeah. But how many of you guys have been to Maui? Does anybody have some stories or memories that they have of Lahaina? Or, some of my earliest memories were actually climbing in the banyan tree and spending time in that banyan tree. I had a piece of art in an art show there, right by the banyan tree. Just so sad. Yes, Halloween. Christina and I entered the, if anybody doesn't know, Halloween in Lahaina was insane. Like tens of thousands of people. It's like gridlock, costume contests, and Christina and I went as Mr. and Mrs. Hanky one year. And that was our one time we went to the Lahaina. Yeah, all the artists, Lahaina was a hot spot of artists. Yeah, Halloween was just ridiculous. Yeah, a lot of people fall in love there and fall in love with Maui. Yeah, that banyan tree is 150 years old, right? They're putting a lot of love to that tree. There's, an arborist who's working on that tree, and, not much sap is coming out, but they're doing everything to keep that alive. Like Charlie Young. Oh, I know the prices there. It's like ridiculous. Like my parents show me around their neighborhood. Oh, that's $1 million, and you're like, 800 square feet, Yeah, I love driving around the island. Oh, I know my friend Joe, the first thing he would do is we'd go out to Hana, we'd just drive around the whole island, just every spot's a little unique and different there, living up in upcountry Kula was nothing like Lahaina. Lahaina was like this bustling city for, a country boy, where there's nothing up country there's nothing up country, period. Like, it's a pretty sleepy place up in Kula, which I loved, I loved growing up there. We could always go to the beach. We had open space, parents never locked their doors. It was, neighbors. A tree house in Haiku. There's some pretty silly, crazy places out in Nahiku and Puelo and Haiku. And there's Twin Falls. There's a commune there. I have an older friend who lived in a commune there for a while in the 70s. Oh wow, born in Puelo. A good friend with the Cabrals, Jeremy Cabral and his dad. Yeah, Kauai's gorgeous. My uncle lives there, and it's the oldest island, right? And it has rivers, and it gives it a much more dramatic feel than any of the other islands. Laura, you've never been. Okay. Oprah needs, interesting too. I'm interested to hear some of the people actually have gotten money from Oprah's and Rock's fund. I did look at the form when it came out. I did look into the organization that was fundraising with them. But I'm interested to see, right? They made a bold promise, right, of what, $1,200 per person for I don't know for how long. So it'll be interesting to see when we actually hear some stories. Maybe if any of you've heard it or seen it. I'm not on TikTok or Instagram. I'm mostly on YouTube, but I hope they are following through with that promise. That's quite a bold promise, Maui United Way gave $1,000 to everyone. They gave more than FEMA, and it was awesome And I've heard about many people getting the Maui United Way. You get a piece of land, you get a piece of land. Yeah, you do feel a sense, often getting off the airplane, sometimes the air smells sweet with leis. I lived in Philadelphia. I remember getting off the plane there and just being like, oh my God, this doesn't feel like Hawaii at all. So, the ocean breeze as you get off the plane, the sound of the coconut trees. And then as you get into the deeper parts of Maui, off the beaten path, Do I have kids? No, I don't have kids. We have a pet cat, and we've had some animals over the years, but no kids. I don't think we're planning on having kids. So, but I've worked as a coach for many of years, so I've worked with youth and kids. So I've had a lot of people I've worked with. What do I know about the missing children in buses? Right, the missing children. It appears that those numbers are not that big. There probably are missing children, but it seems like a big part of that, or maybe parents are still grieving them. But as far as those numbers, the FBI, the government, hasn't been any helping any of the story in terms of giving us information and transparency. So it's difficult to say, other than what people are saying on the ground there in Lahaina and some of the locals are saying there. So have you seen the video Judy Wood 911? No. Yeah, Chrissy, I think that's probably may be a part of it, Yeah, thank you. I've really enjoyed coaching. I've worked with hundreds of kids and of all levels, mostly distance running and sprinting. But yeah, boy. Even for me, like I've been doing some digital art. That's been a great way to do something that feels good. Yeah, Polly. I know. What were they doing? Oh, yeah. Some people are so out of touch. You're like, yeah, William, that's sort of the concern, Yeah, cross-country kids, boy, great bonding in the team. Talk about working on focus and mental toughness and building a community or team. I always loved coaching cross-country. It was a unique sport, a mentally challenging one. And oh, awesome. Yeah, hopefully that played a positive role for them, I was fortunate enough to have some good coaches. Yeah, the DOE community, there's people who are voicing their concerns with the Department of Education and reaching out to some of those people who are not accounted on, who are not in schools or registered for online classes. There's a discrepancy in numbers there for sure. But you're right, check out some of those links I have below. Right here in Volcano, we have an eruption going on currently. Kilauea is erupting, and there's a ton of lava coming out. I have a link to the USGS live feed. Yeah, I think that's right, Using the right words is crucial, I think, and when we're talking about what's going on. But it is ridiculous. Here we are, we're well over a month out, and there's still so many questions unanswered. How far is my house from Volcano? We're about maybe a 10-minute drive, 6 or 7 miles. Oh yeah, about a cross-country team. And I just have endless memories of cross-country team and working with the youth on Maui. We would have a camp in KNI, and we'd send the whole team would spend the weekend in the camp, and we just had so much fun. Just like all these team activities. Just you're just one big family, and then when the competitions come, you're that sense of family cheer. You want to see everybody do well, And it's so nice when it's like you realize, hey, we're all in this thing together. I don't care, whether first or last, we can all relate to each other on this journey. I ran cross country in Maui my whole high school career. I was one of the top runners. This is my junior and senior year, and I'm still involved with a cross country camp that goes on in Oahu, and haven't been coaching here on the Big Island, but yeah, thank you for that. And it's one of the things. I've had some great mentors and coaches above me, and I've realized that we all have to do our part in keeping things, keep the ball rolling forward. Yeah, true. Yeah, there's some great coverage of the volcano going on. There's some people who've been covering it for a while. Do residents get an inter-island to fly? I heard there was some promotions going on. When I flew, was that 2 weeks ago? There was no discount. It was $200. It was $100 each way, which, and when Cristina just flew yesterday, it was about the same price. There are discounts from Delta, I think flying out of Los Angeles and Seattle to Maui for $99 and $129. You'll have to check that out. But Delta, lack of demand on Maui. Some of these airlines are dropping their winter flights, and you were watching those eruptions. Yeah, when it started, Christina was at work in the park, and I just drove up there and started. You get fixated watching these eruptions. When you watch a stream of hot molten lava like move into like a lake, and you're trying to make sense of the size and the heat. 149. Yeah, keep on marathoning. I've so many times I've thrown in the shoes and said I'm not gonna do that. I think after my first marathon, I lost a couple toenails, and I was like, why did I do that? I said, no, I'm never going to do that again. But yeah, so much going on over the world, and the internet makes us even more connected. It's important to take a break, mental health. I always try to spend an hour every day just exercising, or reading. Yeah, why was the road blocked with, the stories don't make sense. If anybody heard the emergency management guy who stepped down, he was claiming that he didn't want to send the sirens for, number one, people might have had their air conditioning on, or they would have run to the fire. And none of it made sense since there wasn't any power in Lahaina. And some of those lines, according to Hawaii Electric, were de-energized. So what were the police officers doing? Who was giving them orders? Was the chief of police and the fire, were they working together in dealing with this disaster? But the footage that has come out of that does not look good. I know they're dealing with the press is so controlled, and how they're still in there, I don't know. I don't know. Something I've learned in high school from one of my friends' parents is, squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, I guess we have to squeak quite a bit to get these people out. But it would do a service, I think, to everybody who's been harmed by this, including the many, many victims who lost people, if they let new leadership into office. I think it would be healing, and I think it would show a good sign to the world that, we need to move on in our leadership. Yeah, Jeremy Lee has been doing a good job. I wish I could say more about some of the local media, what Maui News, Maui Now, but Jeremy Lee has been pushing hard on that issue. So vote that governor out. Yeah, I think there's probably some things we can do before that happens, which might put some pressure on him to resign. But I'm sure we're going to see this next election is going to be quite a show. Do we impeach governors? Well, you know, there might be some guidance that they do take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and those issues, when you don't hold up your oath to office, you know, I need to do more legal research, but I think that's a big part of it for sure. Is are you standing up to your oath of office? And then there's other issues, constitutional issues. You know, could we get a cease and desist out of the government? I don't know. There must be a pathway. You know, government is set up so that there's access to it to have grievances. If not, we're in much deeper trouble than anything if we can't even at least express our grievances. Occupied territory, yeah. You know, the issues of property in Hawaii is a contentious one for sure, and one that people have been fighting for at every point along the way. You know, yeah, it is so deep, right? Pearl Harbor is an issue, and then we have annexation. You know, we have the sugar barons overthrowing the government. You know, we have property rights getting introduced with 1847 that didn't exist before here. Yeah, it does seem like that. You know, I think Hawaii Electric, while they're still in the hot spot, right, there's a lawsuit against them for removal of evidence from a crime scene, and they're blaming a third party, but so they're not out of the woods, but it looks like they did have the power lines de-energized. So it makes what the chief of police and the Hawaii Emergency Management System is saying at odds with it. Yeah, he's how people are still standing beside him, or you know, why there isn't more pressure coming. You know, I better make a stand. I guess we all have to make a stand at some point. You know, it's at what point do they come knocking on your door? You know, or at what point do you lose your access to your property or property rights? You know. Yeah, smart city. Oh, I got a bird here. Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see what happens to Lahaina. Yeah, yeah, major concerns with Pelletier's history before all of this. So, how, you know, but we can't forget that, right, in Oahu, Kīlauea, former chief of police there, I could do a couple, I don't even, it's way too complex. I hit the birds. But Kīlauea and his wife, you know, the feds got involved. But if anyone's interested, I urge you to look into that, the Kīlauea federal case in Oahu, former chief of police. That issue is a corruption of the highest magnitude and of a complexity that is hard. You know, I need to have a diagram to make sure I have all these connections, because it is so complex with what was happening there. Yeah, Abe, I think you know, maybe I guess those in charge, the government officials, are not aware that social media has its own power and correction power on people. You know, as we've seen even with other individuals, you can kind of get erased out if there's enough pressure from the internet. You know, buy back Maui. How's that going? You know, I don't know for sure. You know, all I know is I've been reading many articles about the layoffs, and you know, it just didn't work. Yeah, you know, about that, yeah, Morocco, so sad. so difficult to make sense of some of these things, you know. Um, Low income area, no fault line zone. Yeah. Here on the Big Island, we're always aware of the dangers of Pele or the volcano. You know, it's not just where we are here. Mauna Loa is active volcano, so puts things in perspective, I guess, when you have to live next to a volcano. But where we live, we're not in any imminent threat, I guess. But as we've learned, anything could change in a moment. Yeah, you know, in terms of giving, getting it directly to people or organizations that, you know, I've been running campaigns, and we've raised through my YouTube, I go with almost $1,400 for the Maui Food Bank and Humane Society. So thank you everyone out there. I know it seems small compared to how much need is out there, but I think any little piece that we can put into it and is just going to help, you know. So, you know, people who are thinking about traveling to Maui, spending money there, finding a family that needs help. Yeah, Eric had those problems with not having that 501c3 in place with all that money before, which put him in quite a bind, although I think his intentions were pretty clear. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Jay, I agree. That was so infuriating seeing how these officials were like condescending. Pelletier just seemed like a jerk, you know, and Bisson was about to start a fight with people, it looked like. You know, it looked like a round of like high school football or something. I don't know. It was not a very good look, and it was not very reassuring that much compassion was going to be going forward, you know. But I'm just sitting here in Volcano outside a playground. A bunch of kids are playing here at the community center. Hopefully the connectivity is a little better for the quality of my video. Yeah, once your eyes are open, remember Plato's cave, right? In the darkness, once you come out of the cave, you see reality for different, but you think reality is what you're just shadow in the cave until your eyes are open. And yeah, you kind of can't see something once you've unseen it, you know, or once you understand the dangerous threat. It's hard to, you know, you can pretend, I guess, but that's going to be in the back of your mind and it'll resurface in some way or another. So, you know, important that we take time to look at what's going on. What these officials. Yeah. Well, you guys, I think I'll be taking off here in a second. I'll probably try to provide some more information for you guys in the future. Check out some of those links before. There's actions that you can take. There's discussions that you can have with friends and family. And make sure that we still have our aloha for Maui. And we must unite. Yeah. And unite, just purely thinking of it, sending your prayers to those people. It all matters, you know? Yeah.